Of course, we have the reliability test, which is the Cronbach Alpha that was above 80%. The EDA is the exploratory data analysis, basically to meet the two assumptions. Normally, many don't do the EDA, but I was taught this when I did my PhD, so I thought I might as well use it. Basically, EDA is to meet the assumption that your data has a normal distribution. That's all. In fact, if ada anomalies, usually they are the 2.5% at the early part and 2.5% at the end part. What we do, we get rid of the anomalies, ataupun the outliers. We get rid of the outliers so that it becomes a normal curve. All right. I did a t-test, one-way ANOVA, Pearson correlation, regression analysis. All right. Now, why participate? Now, this one actually I don't intend to show you here, but when we rank, all the 7 I showed you just now. Now, in Malaysia, for OUM, this is how our respondents have ranked why they participate. So I think it fills in lah. I mean, doesn't run away too much from what we anticipate. Of course, number 1 is for professional advancement. Number 2, not bad. Orang datang ke OUM for cognitive interest, betul-betul datang untuk dapatkan ilmu. So when I saw this, I was quite happy. I said, wow, not bad lah. Thank God escapism is at the number 7, Okay, so when I saw number 1, I was very happy. When I saw cognitive interest, I was very proud of the kind of students we have. Number 3, communication improvement, not bad. People actually come to improve their communication. Number 4, educational preparation. 5, family togetherness. 6, social contact. 7, escapism. I think cantik lah. I think the data that we have here looks good. It's a feel good, look good kind of a ranking. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Now, this is the findings. Now, if you look at the findings, all workforce experience moderate level of all deterrents. That means all of the 4 deterrent that was shown just now to you, all of them experience deterrent at moderate level. Thank God, not high level lah. That was another thing that we can be proud of lah. Now, if we look into detail, we find that 90% experience low to moderate.
I was wondering.
Oh, okay.
How do you mean by moderate level or high or low?
Okay, remember just now 1 to 7?
1 to 7.
So 1 to 3 is low, 4 to, sorry, I think it's 1 to 2. I think it's somewhere there. I'll show you probably later. 1 to 7, the first 1/3 is low, the middle is moderate, the last is high. Alright, 1 to 7, So 90% experience low to moderate level of deterrent. About 10% faced high. Remember S just now? What was S? Yes, situational. I, informational, and the other I is institutional. So about 10 to 12% they had high deterrence in situational deterrent, informational, and institutional. And 7.7% face high dispositional deterrent. You see, it's kind of low. If you look at the previous study, I told you this was the highest. Dispositional was the highest. I'll show you later. So institutional deterrence is the highest deterrent, and it supports Robinson's plus a few other punya findings lah. It supports this, and dispositional is the lowest. But to make it even clearer, I'll show you the other slide after this. So institutional deterrent is higher than any other deterrent. That means we in OUM, we have to look out because apparently we are a deterrent factor. Okay, we are a deterrent factor. Okay, so the education provider now has to reduce all forms of deterrence in terms of administration. So we have to look at ways how we can reduce these deterrents at the administrative level. Okay, the 5th one, at-risk learners. Okay, these are learners who have needs to escape, they have dispositional deterrent, they have external locus of control, probably early identification of these learners, and with proper intervention, we can, reduce dropout and increase enrollment. Alright, now this one, what was said earlier, Dr. Tina? Low is 1 to 3, moderate is 3.1 to 5, high is 5.1 to 7. On a mean average. Yeah? So this is how. So all respondent got deterrent, low to moderate 90%, 10% ada institutional, situational and informational deterrent. Tapi dalam 7.7% they face high dispositional deterrent. Yeah? And let's say we are ranking, so this is what we get lah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sitting right at the top is institutional, followed by situational, followed by informational, and last one dispositional. Yeah? Tempat lain terbalik, dispositional ke atas. Yeah? Right. Now this is the relationship study lah. Of course, because we did a correlation just to find out. I mean, if you look at the result, you see weak and negative, weak and positive. It's weak, but it is our duty as researcher to find out if there is a relationship. If it's weak, well, we report it as weak. If it's weak and negative, we report it as weak and negative. There's nothing wrong about it, because sometimes when you do research, people say, "Oh, you mean not significant, is it?" Even if it's not significant, it is a finding. It is a finding. You know, you just test it out. It's an exploratory study. We don't have any fast data, hard data in our hand. We are testing it for the first time. So of course, the kind of results you get could be anything. But you have to do a research and find out what is significant, what is not. If it's not, well, fine. Let's put other variables in now, the X4, the X5, the X6 and so on, and find out whether they are significant, you know. So when this research was done, for deterrent, we found that the relationship was weak. Okay, weak negative, weak positive. So when it's weak, you really don't have to, you know, stress yourself out lah. All right, I'll just go on to the next one. Relationship between deterrent and total participation need. What I mean by total participation need, remember there were seven needs to participate. There were 7 needs to participate. Escapism and all those kind of things. 7. What I did now, I put all these as one. So I called it total participation need. I just wanted to see the overall lah. Yeah. So this is what I got. But when you go into separate or individual participation need, this is again no significant relationship, weak and positive. Nothing really substantial to say or to shout about. Okay, that's it. Okay, that's the finding of this research. All right. Okay. Now there's another thing that I did not enter. As I'm speaking now, I'm just remembering. Remember, I was talking about the contribution just now. Remember, I was talking about the contribution. Hold on. Let me just go back to the slide that I showed you about the X's and the Y's. Yeah. This one. Okay. Remember this? Now this one, you also want to know how much of X1, X2 and X3 contributed. Now if we look at deterrent, which is the X2, it contributed 2.5% only to Y. Okay? It only contributed 2.5%. No wonder it is a weak contributor of Y. Okay? 2.5%. But I just want to add on here, when you take X1, X2 and X3, it contributed close to 20% of Y. So now you'll ask me, where are the other 80? That is for us to do continuous research and find out what are the X4, 5, 6 and 7 and so on. That we have to find out. But for now, the 3 variables that I tried to look into, they only contributed close to 20% of Y. Okay, so that is where the multiple regression comes into the picture. Yeah. Okay, let me go back to recommendation. Okay, recommendation. Yeah. Now, to overcome shortcoming in this research design, I told you it's a quantitative research design. Yeah. So to overcome any shortcoming in this design, probably the next time around we have to do a qualitative approach, interviewing the respondents. Sorry, you don't call them respondent when you interview, you call them participants. You interview the participants and so on. Probably it will be able to reflect other needs. Yeah.